Hello everyone and welcome to today's race. And before we get into things, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who's joined the channel recently, as your support really helps me keep putting out these videos for you. Now we are here in the Falcon Tyre series starting in P3 and we're surrounded by a lot of talented drivers, so today's going to be a very difficult race to get a good finish, but we're going to go into it with everything we've got, and we're starting out side by side now with Tiago to our outside. So I am going to back out because I want to give him the inside corner and just slot into place here to try and follow up with Jensen, who is a very fast driver around here. We can now focus on just trying to get through this opening lap on these cold tyres over these aggressive bumps here at Atlanta. So if you're not careful, it's very easy to get caught out by them, especially around this section here, as Tiago's going to demonstrate going off to our left-hand side there, just losing grip on those cold tyres and spinning around. I'll have to have a look at what happened to him, but that has at least put us up to P2. But we are not alone, as we still have Marco right behind us for company. We are now in charge of trying to keep up with Jensen ahead of us. Now we'll see here on the replay just how unlucky Tiago is on those cold tyres. There's a nasty bump on the outside there, which just makes him lose control and spin around. Then for good measure, he gets tagged by another car, nearly sending him over the barrier. We'll see with that car, they just have a little moment of hesitation, which sends them straight into Tiago. Very unfortunate for the both of them, but we rejoin now onto lap 2, following Jensen, who's starting to pull away from us here. And Marco is still right behind me, so my main focus now is just trying to hold on to P2, as I'm still going to gain at least 100 IR if I can keep it together, but it's not going to be easy as I go deep over the top of the hill there. But thankfully Marco also has a bit of a wobbling moment behind us. It's going to be very close between us, I can feel, as we are close on pace, but we can look ahead and we can see Jensen's lost control over the curbs. We just about avoid him there, but Marco behind us in the rearview mirror collects Jensen, sending them both out of the race. We'll see it's these curbs once again, just unsettling the car on the cold tyres. We get very lucky passing on the left, but Marco has no time to react there. See just how close we come, but Marco, who was following so close behind us, Jensen did do well to hold his brakes, but he lets off as we go past, and Marco, trying to follow us through, gets collected. And as the dust settles, we are now up to P1. However, we still have 3 very fast drivers right behind us. This is Justin in the green 711 car, who's going to be keeping us honest over this next section as we start approaching the back of the GT4 traffic here on lap 7. I have been pushing, just trying to keep the gap built up between us, because I know I will need a cushion as we come up to the GT4s. I'm going to need to try and be patient here, but I still need to seize any opportunities that present themselves. Otherwise, I'm going to lose a lot of time. And straight away, that Mercedes moved to the left. I do have a look at the inside, but I make the terrible mistake here. I should have known straight away that gap is always going to close with them, but seeing them move to the left-hand side, I thought they might be giving me the space there. I can't rest on my laurels though, as we are still very much in charge of this race, and I need to keep pushing here, as Justin has been able to catch up to us because of that incident. Though I am very lucky to have at least got away with no damage there, surprisingly. However, we are now approaching a lot of the battling GT4s here, so I just need to try and find some clean space and focus on a good exit. However, Justin is now right behind us. You can see the headlights of his LMP3 starting to fill our rear view mirror, so I now need to start thinking about defending into the chicane, which is the main overtaking point on this track. And you can see Justin now moving to the outside, so all I have to do is just brake that a little bit later here, and I can get to the apex first and keep him in line behind us. However, we have these 2 Mercedes GT4s right in front. We're going to get past the first one, and it looks like we should be timed well enough for the second on the exit as we enter lap 8. Justin, however, is able to get past him just as easily here, so there's no respite for us. I've really got to try and keep on my toes to make sure I'm not making any mistakes here. We can see now we are coming up to the next group of GT4s through what is one of the worst sections here for the multi-class passing, so I just need to try and be patient and time my exit once again, going over the curb as much as possible here, and seeing a gap, I swap to the inside from the next corner. I can see the GT4s are battling ahead, and we have this unintentional send on the pink Mercedes. I just misjudged their speed on the apex. Thankfully, they take evasive action there. We're able to avoid a repeat of earlier, but we have another car off to our right, and I just about avoid them. Justin takes avoiding action behind us, and he then gets blocked by the 2 GT4s going side by side. However, he is still right behind us, so once again with that slipstream he's going to start gaining on us, so I have to go defensive into the chicane. And we now have another Mercedes GT4 which I'm going to try and use to put him off the move on the outside. And we're able to get to the apex at first once again and force Justin to follow in behind us. That has been a very close section there. We got very lucky with that pink Mercedes, but we have survived for yet another lap as we come on to 9. We now have the lead GT4 ahead of us, and then we'll be into clear air, though we can see he's a bit slow in the apex and just about avoid him down the inside, as does Justin behind us. Now I just need to try and focus in the clean air to stop pulling away from Justin if possible. And that's not going to be easy with the slipstream and how fast he is around here. So I had to really keep pushing over these next few laps, because you can see Justin is still right behind us and Anton in the red LMP3 is not too far away. So if we start battling, he's going to start closing up on us really quick now. Now on to lap 11, Justin's going to do really well on the brakes to close up behind me. I'm a bit hesitant braking early there, but I'm able to get a slightly better exit. However, Justin is still really trying to push that pressure onto me, trying to make me make a mistake, as we've seen so many people do now around this track. And that's not going to be helped as he sets the fastest lap time behind us. So I know I need to really pull my finger out if I'm going to stay ahead of him. So I'm going to push even harder now, perhaps a bit too much, as we cut that corner and nearly get a slowdown there. I would definitely end our race at this stage if we got that 5-second slowdown, so I've really got to try and still keep it clean here, which is not easy whilst Justin is so close behind me. But he then has a big moment coming over the curbs and loses it into the barrier. You can see the curbs and that bump claim yet another victim, sending Justin nose first into the barrier. It looks like he's able to continue at least, but he has now lost the position to Anton, who's going to start taking charge at chasing us down onto lap 15 as we're coming onto the back of the GT4 traffic once again. So I've got to hope at this stage they are going to be a little bit more spaced out for us here, as I want to try and avoid losing as much time as possible. I only have just over a second gap, and as we come over the crest we can see the big group of GT4 cars in front of us, so my work is still cut out for me if I wanted to get through them without losing too much time to Anton behind us. I'm just going to have to hope with this Aston it's going to be a nice clean exit, which it is. However, I now want to cut across, and that Mercedes is staying in the middle, so it's very close between us. And I now need to try and just settle in behind this BMW, as I'm too far back to make any sort of move down the inside, which would be too dangerous. And that's allowing Anton to close up behind us now. He's nearly half a second behind us as we emerge out of this group of GT4s onto the long back straight. And it seems Anton's car was a lot faster in a straight line than we were, so he's closed up to us again. However, I'm going to get the better exit once more coming out of that chicane, which lets me pull a little bit of a gap between us. It's not over yet, as we're still just in the middle of the GT4 traffic. We have the two Mercedes in front of us here, so I have to hope this is going to be timed well enough coming out of turn 1. We are through the first Mercedes and the second one as we come over the top of the hill once again. Anton has to make a dangerous send behind us in order to clear the traffic. That has just about kept him with us here, which is what he's hoping for, as he knows if he gets too far behind me here, I'm going to have a lot more wiggle room to make it safely through the GT4 traffic. But it is give and take in these circumstances, and unfortunately the GT4s can sometimes come off the worst, as we have seen so far. I do want to try and keep it clean, as I have already committed one unaliving here, and I do not want to do any more. So I'm watching these two Mercedes on the back straight here. GT4s are just as fast as the LMP3s in a straight line, so it's not going to be too much between us. However, I look like I'm going to be safe coming into the chicane, so I do retake my racing line, just trying to not lose too much time here. Now I'm watching the Mercedes ahead. It looks like they're going for the apex, but now they suddenly change direction there, so it comes very close between us once again. It seems to not have too much luck with that pink Mercedes there, so I'm going to have to be watchful of them once we come across them once more. However, for now, it looks like we're going to be clear of this Porsche as we come across the top of the hill. And Anton has lost time there. However, I go very deep over the crest and just about save it on the curbing there, so that does bring Anton a little bit closer behind us. And again with this Mercedes, I can see I have to time my exit, so we're going to lose a little bit of time there, but not too much here. And Anton's going to get a clean run behind us, so With this Mercedes, I now can make a nice easy send down the inside there, not lose too much time. And Anton does the same into this last corner, but we get a much better exit than they do, which is going to give us a good gap coming onto the back straight here and the last of the GT4 traffic. Now, we did have some real close calls there. That is just the nature when I'm expecting a lot of these GT4 cars to be following the racing line as usual, but we're able to get through without any more incidents, which is the key thing here. And we were still ahead of Anton, and Anton was really pushing, as we're going to see here, coming through this GT4 traffic. Then through this corner, he's going to make a very stylish drift here. However, that's not going to help him with his exit. So on to lap 22. I have just about been keeping ahead of Anton. I've actually managed to pull a 1.5 second gap almost to him. I've just been trying to keep clean and consistent here in this clean air before we reach the back end of the GT4 traffic for the last time here. See though that I am losing time over the top of the hill there. That's definitely my weakest sector. However, this corner here seems to be my strongest, as again there's an incident behind us as Anton now loses control in our rearview mirror. We'll see on board with just how much he had been pushing to go so far wide and turn it into another victim. Ilos does a really good job keeping it out of both of the barriers here so he doesn't take any damage, but Justin is now able to retake P2, well deserved for him considering his incident earlier. However, he was too far back to contest us for the end of this race, so we're coming up to the finish line now and we are going to come across in P1. One of my first wins here in top split, so I was really pleased with this. And the fact this is also one of our highest IR gains at 112, which is going to really help us on our road to getting back to 3K. But I did keep in mind we had only got this position from the 2 incidents in front of us and our own with the GT4 traffic. But I felt I still somewhat deserved it considering I had fended off 2 very fast drivers whilst keeping the car mostly on the circuit. So overall, it had been a great race, but still something I had to learn from going forward. So I hope you have all enjoyed today's race. If you did, please have a look on my channel at some of the other races, and I hope to see you all again next time.